Hi friends. Welcome to week 3 of distance learning. We're getting close at least. It is my 22nd day of not leaving the block that I live on or driving a vehicle, so that's a little bizarre. My hair might get more interesting colors as I start getting into day 50, day 60. We'll see what happens over here. I hope that you're all doing as well as can be expected. It was lovely to get to Zoom chat one-on-one with most of you. I have a couple more meetings tomorrow. And if you are one of the very few people who hasn't gotten in touch with me yet to book a one-on-one Zoom chat about your community engagement project, please do that as soon as possible. I am so compassionate for the period that you guys are adjusting to and coping with right now. I know that people are working jobs at home, navigating different family relationships or living situations. And I will reiterate every week that all I ask of you is to stay openly communicating with me. So one note about class structure moving forward. I want to simplify things because I got a lot of feedback from all of you that you're navigating all these new platforms online, that everybody has different deadlines, that it's hard to keep track. And I hear you, and I want to make an adjustment to make things simpler, at least as far as my class is concerned. So from now on, Thursdays are the day. You will get these lectures from me on Thursdays, and whatever your homework is that week will be due on Thursday. I think that all those dates are adjusted correctly in the presentation today, but if they're not, just know that everything is due Thursday. So here is what your week looks like with my class. Thursday, sometime by the end of the day, a video drops into your inbox. You either watch it that night, you wake up Friday, you watch it, you take the weekend and you be a human being. You don't watch my video on the weekends. You don't do your homework on the weekends. You practice your instrument, you take naps, you work if you have to, you take care of your family if you have to, but I want you to be human beings and not students on the weekends as much as you're able to be. So say you have to wait until Monday to watch my video. I'd prefer you tried to watch it before the weekend, but maybe you're watching it on Monday. Great. Then you have until the following Thursday to get to me whatever your assignment was for that week. And that gives you most of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and even some of the day on Thursday if you really need it, to get your assignment to me. So I had a lot of questions this week with the proposal about how to get it to me. However is easiest for you, whatever takes the least amount of stress or upload time or bandwidth. If you need to take a photo of whatever it is and text it to my phone, if you email it to me, if you want to upload somewhere and share with me, however you want to get it to me is okay with me. Just so we're clear about that. So everything due Thursday, new video Thursday. Thursdays are the day. And I hope that that will simplify things. I'd love to hear from you guys about how you feel about that. If it's worse for you than what we had going before, let me know. We'll go back to the chopping board. We're going to make this work for everybody. So let's see. We should be seeing slides now. So like I gave a lot of you a heads up in your one-on-one meetings, now that you've really thought about how to propose your project and what it really is and what it looks like, we need to talk about how to fund your project. Where does the money come from for projects like this? And that's what we'll talk about today. At some point in your professional life as an educator, a performer, an administrator, whatever it is that you end up doing, at some point you will be required to find money to make something possible. So I want to just outline what some of the options are for that. I've been really fortunate to have a lot of success with this in the past. And I'll share a little bit about why I think it is that I have been pretty good at getting people to hand over money to make my visions come true as we go. So first, let's just go over a couple of housekeeping things that I might not have mentioned yet, just to really put it all in one place and for those visual learners to see it all written out. like I mentioned, sign up for your one-on-one Zoom meeting if you haven't. I think there's only 2 people in class who haven't gotten in touch with me yet to make that happen. And I'm worried about you guys. I feel sad and I feel concerned when I don't hear back from you. So be in touch with me. There was a sign-up link. I know that some of you had a hard time finding that or navigating to that. So just text me, email me, and we'll set something up. Let's do that ASAP though, because that's supposed to be prior to turning in your proposal that was due this week. And then we're doing our budget spreadsheet, and check me if any of these are not Thursdays, because like I said, we're moving everything to Thursdays. So that budget spreadsheet is due on the 9th, which is a week from today, that following Thursday. And I will show you exactly what that looks like here shortly. Then we're going to start building our website, and that's going to be our project for the rest of the semester, and that will culminate in your final project. And that'll be broken up into steps. The first will be, and yes, that's a Thursday, a content outline. So that will just look like, rather than having to build on a computer, this will just be, what do you want to have in your website? What will the pages be? What kinds of things do you already have? And this will give you a good idea of anything that you need to write, perhaps a teaching philosophy or a better biography, anything that you need to collect. And this is where you're going to basically take everything we've done this semester, all the branding work, all the documentation, all of it, and get to put it in one place that represents you online. And the following week, you will build out the page, just the architecture. So making sure the right pages are there and that they navigate from page to page the way you want. So this isn't plugging anything in. This is how I would like my page to operate. And then that following week, I'll continue to deliver videos like this, and I'm going to be able to screen share with you and show you exactly how to build in the program, which will be really exciting and a good use of the technology that we're all learning about now. But then you'll have an entire week where you don't owe me anything in terms of an assignment, but instead we'll do another one-on-one check-in via Zoom, where we will get to screen share the website that you're working on building, and I'll be able to kind of advise as you go and see what's going on and help you with those fonts that you can't get quite right or whatever it might be. And then your final project is the final website. It will be a draft. You do not have to publish it to the world. There are ways for us to work on these things together where you don't need people to see it. And that's just due by the end of the semester. You're welcome to get it to me the end of classes, the beginning of finals week, or by the end of finals week, as long as I just have time to check it out and get your grades submitted. A note on grades, and I think that I made this clear to you all, but nobody's going to get a lower grade than they had at midterms. Like I've said a bunch of times, this is not what any of us signed up for. So let's talk about money and raising money and fundraising for projects. So there are 5 basic different ways that you can find funding for community projects, personal projects, any kind of artistic or business endeavor. The first, and this is the one that I have the most experience with, is grants. And we'll talk about what grants are, but grants are basically gifts that you get from an organization. The second way is crowdfunding campaigns, exactly what it sounds like, raising funds from a crowd of people. Everybody gives a little bit to make a large amount. And then there's fundraising events, which are similar, lots of people giving little bits, but it's where you provide some kind of experience in exchange for that little bit of giving. Everybody comes together and gives all at one time in one location. There's sponsorships, and we'll talk about what those mean. And then, of course, there's loans. And we're not going to talk about loans today. A lot of you are students. You probably already know, well, all of you are students, and a lot of you probably have student loans, so you understand pretty well what those are. Those are when a foundation or an institution gives you money to achieve something, whether it's getting your education or starting a small business, and you are expected to pay that money back, often with a high rate of compounding interest. So let's talk about these different types of raising money. So grants, the one I mentioned. And like I said, grants are gifts that are given to fund either a specific project or it can fund an entire organization. So that latter type of grant is called an operating grant, and it's meant to be the money that greases the wheels of your organization. Oftentimes you have to have quite an extensive record as a creator or an organization in order to be eligible for a grant like that that's less restricted. Most of the time, you are going to apply for a grant to put on this one concert or this one community event. So for a lot of the events, the projects that you guys are creating right now with your communities in mind, grants would be the way to go. Grants usually require some level of compliance and reporting, which means that you agree that this money will only be used for this one use for which it was given, and you'll prove after the event where the money went. You'll say, we did in fact use this $1,000 to pay this person and to hire this and to pay the caterers and whatever, and you'll usually have to report and show exactly how you used that money. So sometimes, actually in my experience very frequently, grant makers do require the applicants to have tax exempt status. And what that means is be a nonprofit organization. There are a lot of grants out there that are only available to nonprofit 501c3 organizations, such as my ensemble Nat 28. And that's why I've gotten so much grant experience primarily, is because there are a lot of state government or federal government driven grants that specifically exist to help nonprofits. What that basically means is if you donate money to a nonprofit, you guys know this, you can deduct it from your taxes at the end of the year. And that's one of the benefits of getting nonprofit status, is that we can remind people that they can make tax exempt donations to our organization. And so if you're a grant making institution, that's a benefit to you, because that's money that you can save on your taxes by making these gifts to charities and nonprofits doing work that you believe in. But there are grants that are out there for individuals or for non-tax exempt organizations. Those are obviously the ones that you guys will be looking at for your own projects in the future before you maybe are a part of a nonprofit organization. The Greater Pittsburgh Arts Council, for example, does a lot of grant making for individual artists and art makers. So these grants can come from, like we said, the government, state government, and federal government, or public or private trusts and foundations. If you are ever curious about this, if you ever do have a project idea and you're looking for grants that you might be applicable to apply for, public libraries have, it's called the FDO, the Foundation Directory Online, and it's one of those resources that you can get through a library that you can't probably afford to get at home. It costs thousands of dollars a month, but if you have a library membership, you can access it at the library for free. And it's literally a giant directory, like an online phone book of people and institutions that want to give you money. It's a pretty amazing way to look. So you go into the FDO and you say, so Vanessa, for example, is doing a project. She proposed a project to beautify her hometown through creating a mural and having music performances. So she could go in and look up music performance, mural artist, beautification, individual, whatever keyword she wanted to put in, and it would spit out people. Sometimes it's an organization, but sometimes it's just like a rich old couple that has millions of dollars, and they specifically only want to give it to musicians doing beautification projects that involve mural painting. Honestly, I've put in really wacky specific searches before and had results come back of rich couples or trusts and foundations that are like, that's what we're looking for. We have $1 million and that's the only people we want to give this money out to. So grants can be really exciting. And you guys have been seeing grants popping up because a lot of organizations right now have created micro grants for relief for musicians who have lost work due to COVID-19. So the Artist Relief Tree, for instance, is giving $500 microgrants to any artists that apply because they've lost work. So if any of you are in that situation where you've lost a lot of performing work, do know that there are resources being made available to microgrants. Are small amounts, they're disseminated quickly. You're not required to report how you use that money. It's just meant to get you through the next set of bills. Crowdfunding campaigns. So lots of people who give a little bit, usually through online. You guys have heard of GoFundMe, Indiegogo, Kickstarter, Just Giving, and probably the one you experience the most, Facebook. So you guys know that on your birthday, Facebook gives you the option of picking the charity that you would like to crowdfund for. So people give a $20 gift to an organization that you believe in your name for your birthday, and you've raised that money and you feel like you've done a good thing. Facebook giving is problematic in many ways. Facebook often doesn't disseminate those funds for years. For example, my organization, Nat28, did crowdfunding through Facebook in 2017, for which we are still waiting for the funds to be released from Facebook. And I've known lots of nonprofit organizations that have had some real problems, but people are attracted to the ease of that. The benefit of that is everybody's on Facebook. It's easy to find an audience and to get them to click, right? Facebook makes it so easy. Probably the two most famous ones below that are GoFundMe and Kickstarter. If any of you don't know, the big difference between those two, for example, is I ran a Kickstarter last year for my first album. For example, I raised a little over $5,000 to fund the creation of my very first solo album. And the scary thing about Kickstarter is I set a goal of $5,000 and people contribute their pledges. If we didn't make it to $5,000, I get zero money. So it's an all or nothing campaign. The fear in that is obvious, right? That I would only raise $4,500 by the deadline and I would get zero. But the benefit is that I could use that then to encourage people. So when I was at $4,500, I could say, hey, I get no money unless somebody comes up with $500 in the next 48 hours. I was lucky that I hit my target of $5,000 about a week before the deadline, and so I didn't have to stay up at night worrying that I would have no money for my album. Whereas something like GoFundMe, you can say, I'd like to raise $5,000. If people only pledge $3,000, you take $3,000, which maybe doesn't light the same fire underneath people to get you to your goal. But it means that, you know, if you are trying to pay a medical bill or whatever it is, that you're going to get something. You're not going to risk $0. So that's kind of the difference between those. Okay, so I'm going to ask you guys to watch something, and I'm not going to require it. I'm going to ask for your thoughts on it, but I'm not going to require it. So this is something I hope that you take advantage of because it will make you a better human. And that is Amanda Palmer's TED Talk titled The Art of Asking. It's short. It's about 12 minutes. You can find it on YouTube or on the TED website. And if you've been in one of my classes before, you've already watched it, I would invite you to watch it again anyways, because every time I watch this video, which has been many times, I pick something new up each time. And I'll be curious what you think. Amanda Palmer was the very first person to, she set a record for her Kickstarter. She raised, I think, $1 million to fund her music on Kickstarter. And the way that she talks about being brave enough to ask for what you need and creating meaningful relationships with the audience that you're asking to support you is a really important part of thinking about crowdfunding. So fundraising events, these take the most work, but are the bread and butter of most nonprofit organizations. This is where they raise most of their money for the year. This can be done by charging admission for some kind of event. If you have a gala, if you're a member of a sorority or a fraternity, you guys know that you put on events for charities and you charge admission, and that money is donated then to whatever the cause is that you're raising money for. You can do a silent auction or sometimes a not silent auction. Those can be very fun if you have the right auctioneer. A way for people to take items home and you take the money for it. So the way that works, I know people have asked me in the past, well, how do you make money from that? We're going to talk a little bit about what in-kind donations are. But basically, when I put on a silent auction about 3 years ago for Nat 28, for example, I approached a bunch of businesses in town and got them to give me free stuff. They get a tax receipt for the value of the thing that they donated. We get to auction off the thing that they donated and get the cash. For example, I go to a bakery and I say, will you guys give us a basket of fresh homemade bread? They say, awesome, that's a $30 value. We write them a tax receipt for an in-kind donation valued at $30. They write that off on their taxes. Morning of the event comes around, I drive over to the bakery, I pick up this basket of fresh bread, and we auction it off to the highest bidder, who pays $100 because it's charity. We get the $100, they get the bread, the bakery got the tax write-off, and they got advertising for their bread and their bakery. It's a win-win-win situation. Raffles. So if you've ever been to a sporting event in Pittsburgh City, you know that they do a lot of 50-50 raffles. The way that works is you buy a ticket for $5, 100 of your comrades there, more like 1,000 of your comrades there, buy tickets too. Okay, now there's $5,000 sitting in this pocket, and then they'll pull one ticket. That winner gets to take half of that home, $2,500, and the other $2,500 goes to the charity for which they're raising money. So you're going to buy that ticket, right? Because you spend $5 and you could go home with $2,500. But at the end of the day, the charity knows it's getting half of that money too. So raffles can be great. They don't have to be 50-50 raffles. You can raffle off anything. People do fun runs or walks, races to raise money for the causes. Competitions, that's one we experience a lot as musicians. So I threw that in there. Sponsorships, there's two different types of these. There's corporate sponsorships, which mean that I approach, say that bakery is really successful and has a lot of money. I approach the bakery and I say, would you like to sponsor our gala that we're having this weekend? You donate all of the food and we will advertise that you are a sponsor of this event. What does that do for the corporation? What does it do for the business? It gives them free advertising. It brands them as a business that's helping local charities and nonprofits, and people hear their name and they try their food and they say, I like this place. I like that they supported your cause. I'm going to go there next time I need to pick up a baguette. And we get our food for free. Or they could donate $600 towards the event. They get the same advertising, they get the same brand association, we get the $600 to do what we need with it. And then the real jackpot is individual donors. So those are hard relationships to create, to find somebody that believes in your cause enough to donate $10,000 to it. For them, it's a tax write-off if you're a nonprofit. If it's not, it's a donation to a cause that they believe in. And then maybe you name it after them. Maybe somebody supports Sam's spaghetti dinner that she's planning for her event. And so they call it the donor first name, donor last name spaghetti dinner. Whatever it is that makes the reciprocity in that relationship. And then another couple of terms to consider. Matching gifts can be a clever way to get people to give money. So if you can find that rich person and they're interested in giving you $1,000, let's say, and you say, hang on, would you be willing to match dollar for dollar the other donations that we receive? They say, sure, we'll do that. That could end up being less. It could end up being more than the $1,000 they were prepared to write a check for today. So they agreed to do that. You say then to your audience, for every dollar you donate, we'll get $2 because a generous donor has agreed to match 1-for-1. People are then motivated to give because if they can only give $10, it's $20 for the organization. Say you then raise $2,000 from all these people. That donor is committed to giving you $2,000 to match. You've made $4,000, whereas when you initially approached them for the gift, you were only going to get $1,000. And we mentioned in-kind donations. In-kind means any donation that's not monetary. If somebody's providing this space for your event, they're providing the food, they're providing a bartending service, they are going to clean the space for you after you leave, they're providing a microphone for your MC for the event. Those are all considered in-kind donations. When you're creating your budget, you need to include any in-kind donations that you are trying to collect or that you believe you've been promised. So the budget itself will include a section for expenses. Everybody's will have this, all of you. And that includes things like any participant or artist fees that you're going to be paying, any materials or equipment that you need, space rental, any consultants or professional services. If you're going to have professional posters printed or brochures or flyers printed, you want to think about those costs. Any travel or transportation that you're paying for. I don't know what the other came from. You might have an other section that just wraps everything up. I think that's why I put there. And then you want to have contingency funds. So on almost every budget I put $100 or more in contingency funds. And that's your cushion if anything goes wrong. Some of you may expect to generate income from your event. If that's applicable, you will also include an income section on your budget this week. I'll show you exactly what this looks like, and you will receive a outline, or you'll receive, an example, my outline budget that I'm going to show you here in a minute. You'll get that in the email with this video. So you can basically use Excel or Google Spreadsheets or a Word document and make it look like my budget, and you'll be just fine. If the income doesn't make sense to you, you're just asking for a gift to put on this event, you're not planning to make money back, then you leave this out. But income can include things like grants you've received, crowdfunding that you've already secured, any loans that you've asked for or applied for, donations, sponsorships, and earned income. So all the things we talked about today, plus earned income, is if people are buying your product or paying to be there. For example, when we write grants for Nat 28, ticket sales are earned income, or if we have a merchandise table at the event, that would be earned income. So for homework, 2 things. Create your budget of expenses and also income, if applicable, for the community project that you proposed this week. And then email your budget to me or get it to me however is most convenient. And I also want to hear your 3 biggest takeaways from the Amanda Palmer TED Talk. 3 things that you are walking away thinking about and considering. Okay, so let me see if I can also show you this budget. Let's see. Let's see. There we go. All right. Should be able to get this budget to you guys. So I'm using 2 screens here. All right, we've done that. And then we do this. Yay. Okay. Okay, and I'm actually going to show you a budget from a previous project of mine. Okay, think that you guys can see this now. I'll find out when I watch this here in a minute. So this is a budget for a project of mine, the Searings project, if you know about it. And you can see up here is the expenses. So we have what they are on the left. We have the amount, and then I put confirmed in kind. So is somebody already committed to giving us this thing that's not money? So we have the artist fees up top. That's the first category, and then you see the total artist fees. So I'm keeping these subtotals as we go. Underneath that, you have materials, equipment, or space rental. You have that money filled out. So the grant that I'm applying for here, if you get the grant, one of the things you receive is the space, the theater space in kind. So you see under confirmed in kind, I put contingent upon selection, meaning if you pick me for this grant, yes, this will be confirmed in kind. And then all of the other expenses, again, another subtotal. And then consultants and professional services. This grant was also offering $1,000 worth of AV support. So again, you see that contingent upon selection. You see travel fees. You see other expenses, project expenses. And then under income, you see all the different grants I've applied for, whether they're secured or pending, meaning I haven't heard back whether I received those grants yet or not. And then earned income includes ticket sales, and that was it here. So that was also the subtotal. And then the total project income. You see here that we have more income than expenses. That's good if you're a nonprofit business trying to earn money. Sometimes you will, in grant applications, be asked for what's called a balanced budget, which means that those two numbers should be exactly the same. The amount of money that's coming in should be exactly the same amount of money that you're spending, so you end with a $0 budget at the end. That's what's called a balanced budget. So I'm not asking you to necessarily do a balanced budget because some of you might not even have any income. All of you, however, will have that expenses section. Okay, so I've talked at you a lot longer than I ever hoped to on these Zoom meetings. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off. As always, be in communication with me no matter what is happening. I look forward to seeing all of your faces if I haven't seen you already over the weekend. And I look forward to getting your budgets and your TED Talk feedback by next Thursday. Okay, guys, sending so much love, peace, light, and stillness. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.